Hi guys, I really just wanted to talk about the so-called red list, and this is the list of countries that require people to quarantine when they come back to the UK, and the Philippines is on this so-called red list. We need to understand that there's around 30,000 Filipino nurses in the United Kingdom, and basically many of them have been unable to see their families for over 2 years. Some of them have missed funerals, weddings, important occasions, and really are desperate to go home. On the one hand, we in the UK would employ nurses from the Philippines and Filipinos from their home country. And on the other hand, they really can't afford to even go home to see their loved ones. This is something that I feel really, really upset about. Some people still don't understand about the implications of this so-called red list. What it means is if you are in the UK and you are a Filipino or you're somebody who'd like to visit the Philippines, in order to travel to the Philippines, firstly, for example, let's just say you've got a family of four. If you have a family of four, you're visiting the Philippines, what it means is this. It's very, very hard to get flights at the moment. So flights back to the Philippines are maybe 1,500 or £2,000 each. So you're already talking about £7,000 or £8,000. On top of that, unless you're an OFW, for example, you have a contract, when you get to the Philippines, you obviously need to pay for hotel quarantine, you need to pay for testing, and you need to pay for so many things. This is not the bulk of the money, and I understand why that's the case for going home in the Philippines. But if you, on top of that, you add the fact that it is now £2,300 per person to stay in a hotel in the UK on your return. Where would you find a hotel of £230 a day? There are so many hotels of maybe £60 or £70 or £100. I understand that they need to pay for security, and I understand that it's a bit more expensive, but I cannot fathom for the life of me why it will cost £2,300 per person to stay in a hotel for 10 days. And then, of course, you have a situation, for example, maybe you're a Filipino nurse, maybe you have got to go home for an emergency in the Philippines. When you get to the Philippines, you need to quarantine to comply with Philippine law. That's understandable because you'll go into a country. But when you come back to the UK, you've got to quarantine for a full 10 days. So what it means is this: if you take like a week going home in the Philippines, you need to take like 25, maybe 30 days leave. On top of that, it would cost you alone probably £5,000 to be able to do that. And what this means in effect is that many Filipinos are being cut off from their own family. They're being cut off from their parents, from their children. And this is something that I feel very, very strongly about. I hear stories from Pinoys every day who tell me they haven't been home for 3 years. They weren't even able to go home for the funeral of one of their parents or the funeral of their loved ones. It's almost like they're trapped here. It's almost like they've got no chance to go back home to the Philippines. Why do I feel so strongly about this? Well, my family are from the Philippines. And not only that, I think the Filipino people are hardworking people, are decent people. They are doing us a service. These Filipino nurses here in the UK are helping us. They're supporting our NHS, particularly for those who've come here recently. Maybe they've come from the Philippines to work, maybe they've never been abroad before, they maybe want to visit their family once a year, but they can't see their own parents for 3 years because, as well as paying the cost of the flight, they've got to come up with this £2,300. And this is when nurses are only receiving a 3% pay rise, and the pay is not very good at all. So this is a really, really serious issue. How I'd like to speak about this is to compare it with India, for example. Um, in India, I believe, I don't know how many it is now, maybe 8%, maybe 9% of the population of India have been vaccinated. And I know people tell me there's loads more people there. Yes, I understand that. But yet the Philippines, where more than 10% of the population, perhaps even 11% of the population, the Philippines is on the red list and India is on the amber list. How can that be fair? I don't understand it. Don't get me wrong. I'm happy for the Indian population that they are on the amber list and therefore the restrictions are not so difficult for them. But yeah, I still feel it's unfair that you treat one country differently to how you treat another country. I've already written to Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister, about this and it's been completely ignored. I've already written to my MP, I've written to the media, and I haven't got any response at all. This is a serious issue, and it's a very, very sad issue as well. I don't know how long this is going to continue for. The fact is, if you're talking about these 30,000 Filipino nurses, maybe 98% of them, or 99% of them, have been double vaccinated already. Not only that, they work in a hospital environment, so they're wearing PPE, they're wearing masks, they're taking precautions, they know how to look after themselves, they know how to protect themselves against COVID-19. And of course, if they had COVID-19, they would know not to travel, they would know not to go out. So to penalise them by charging them this £2,300, this means for a family of four, it's nearly £9,000. And if you add that for maybe £6,000 for cost of flights, that's maybe 14,000 or £15,000 just to go home to see your own relatives. That's absolutely shocking. That's absolutely sickening. And I really do hope there are some exemptions. And I'm calling today, and I've called for this before, for healthcare professionals, for our Philippine nurses to be exempted from this quarantine. The fact is that if you're a diplomat, you can be exempted. If you work for certain government departments, or if you have certain jobs, you can be exempted. But if you're a nurse, you're working on the front line. Every day you're battling to save the lives of people here in the UK. To go home to see your own family, it will cost you maybe 10, 12, 15,000 pounds. It's disgusting, it's ridiculous, and I want it to end. I feel very, very passionate about this, very strongly, I have very strong feelings over this. And I really do hope that the government addresses this as a matter of urgency. Thank you very much, and I hope you're able to comment as well and join this forum or debate. Thank you.